morning, everyone. It is Thursday, February 12th, 9:30 a.m. We are in conference room 325. We are here for a hearing of the joint committees on energy and environmental protection and the committee on tourism. I'm here with my joint committee chair, Rep. Tam. And first up on our agenda, we have House Bill 1949 related to the green fee. This establishes the green fee transparency and accountability program and dashboard. And first up to testify, we have the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission.
Chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee, Leah Laird of the State Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission. We stand on our testimony in support and available for questions.
Thank you. Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. My name is Danielle Bass, State Sustainability Coordinator from the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. We're going to stand on our testimony expressing support on this measure. We believe that a dashboard for transparency purposes is a great thing for the green fee. We would like to provide the committee's one recommended amendment to place this dashboard at the Department of Budget and Finance. We find that they have more expertise in terms of fiscal accountability so that we can move forward having that transparency and financial accountability. I'm available for any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you. And then Life of the Land, not on Zoom.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. We had proposed a different movement of where it should be, but we support the previous speaker. Mahalo.
Thank you. And then Care for Aina Now Coalition.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carissa Cabrera. I'm testifying on behalf of the coalition. We've long advocated for the green fee and are standing in strong support of this bill. I did just want to add that we're also in strong support of the project recommendations that came through the governor's message. They were factored in by a council of experts and also informed by over 600 proposals from the community. So we strongly recommend that those remain unamended to help realize the potential of the green fee this year for the first year of implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Climate Action Coalition in support. Kua Aina Ulu Au Amo, Kevin Chang.
Aloha, morning committee members. Kevin Chang for Kua Aina Ulu Au Amo. We stand on our testimony. Just want to affirm the points that Care for Aina Now made about the $30 million recommendation for a fund for community stewardship as well as the budget recommendations.
Thank you. And then Trust for Public Land. In support, Hawaii Land Trust. In support, Maui Bicycling League, West Maui Greenway in support, Hawaii Community Foundation, Hawaiian Council, Malama Pupukea Waimea, all in support, Hawaii Green Growth, present.
Hello, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees, Kalani Ka'ana'ana with Hawaii Green Growth. Really just want to echo our support for this measure. The transparency and accountability that comes from a dashboard is a really important mechanism to ensure not only that the visitors understand what their tax is going into and what it's benefiting for them as visitors and their experience, but also for us as Kama'aina to understand how tax dollars generated by tourism are benefiting our quality of life. So want to just really echo the accountability and transparency that a dashboard would bring. It's also important, I think, that community-driven projects, like the ones that went through the recommendation process of the Green Fee Advisory Council, are considered heavily. When you have the people who care for that place guiding this work and of those communities, I think it's a really important way to make sure that the change and the benefits last. So just want to echo that as well. Mahalo.
Thank you. And then Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition, Global Preservation Initiative, Aaron McGee.
Aloha, I'm Aaron McGee. I'm speaking in support of HB 1949. With last year's historic establishment of the green fee, it's critical that we build a public dashboard to clearly track how these funds are used. I'm the executive director of Global Preservation Initiative, a local nonprofit that already uses a public dashboard to remain accountable to the communities we serve. Our lifetime impact report shows our revenue, expenses, and the environmental impact we create every year since our founding in 2022. And I strongly believe that when people contribute their money, they deserve to easily understand how it's used and the results it creates. I hope we can hold ourselves to that same standard when it comes to the residents and visitors who are funding these green fee projects. I also believe state agencies should leverage the proven solutions of community organizations through contracts and grants, because collaboration is what creates lasting impact. Global Preservation Initiative leads restoration efforts at Mauliola, or Sand Island State Recreation Area, as well as Makapu'u Beach Park. And these public lands benefit from our consistent community stewardship and show how government and community partnerships can succeed. I hope you will commit to building transparency and public trust by passing this measure. Mahalo.
And we have our Activities and Attractions Association of Hawaii, Antoinette Davis in support. Hawaii Ocean Legislative Task Force.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committees. My name is Hannah Leziak, and I'm testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Ocean Legislative Task Force in strong support of HB 1949. This measure would ensure that the public can see how green fee funds are allocated and how exactly those investments are impacting Hawaii's environment. We also support this measure because it will help the public and lawmakers understand how funding recommendations from the Green Fee Advisory Council align with our state's critical environmental needs. Some of the recommendations that our task force supports are community-driven coral reef restoration, monitoring and assessment of reef and nearshore ecosystems, and pilot cesspool conversions in priority coral hotspots. Our task force represents over 150 individuals across over 20 organizations, and we want to thank you for hearing this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Nature Conservancy.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee, Kenya Miranda with the Nature Conservancy. TNC will stand on its written testimony in strong support.
Thank you. And then we have Kupu, Kione Nakoa.
Chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. My name is Kione Nakoa, representing Kupu Yupe. I just want to stand in strong support for HB 1949 and highlight two things from the testimony. One was the importance of having community-driven projects that actually make a difference in our green fee budget, and making sure, and then the second thing is making sure that the impact from these budgets can be known. And that's where the dashboard really comes into play, telling the story about how the visionary impacts that your Act 96 had in the community and in the environment, and work for making the climate actually better can be replicated and taken across the country and across the world. So I think the dashboard can really help tell the story of what we're doing. Follow.
Thank you. Hawaii Conservation Alliance Foundation. In support, Hawaii Bicycling League.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Eduardo Hernandez on behalf of the Hawaii Bicycling League. I will stand on my written testimony. I just want to highlight the role of the bicycle in sustainability. And if we're not looking for bicycles and bicycling infrastructure, then we're going to fail to see the role that these play for our community for transportation, recreation, and health. So I urge you to consider that. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. And then we have a couple people signed up on Zoom, individuals. Carrie Ostrowski on Zoom. Please proceed.
Aloha chairs, vice chair, and members of the committee. My name is Carrie Ostrowski. I strongly support House Bill 1949, establishing a public transparency dashboard to track the allocation and the use of the revenues by the green fee. I'm personally engaged with many community-driven coral restoration, cesspool conversion, and Malkatamakai projects that I'm looking forward to be benefited and impacted by the fee. Ensuring that the legislature follows the expertise and recommendations of the Green Fee Advisory Council and the governor is critical to success. Grounding decisions in the advisement of a highly skilled advisory council ensures that the investments reflect the community priorities, empower the local practitioners who we rely on, and maximize conservation outcomes for the future of Hawaii. I believe transparency is key. The publicly accessible resiliency impact dashboard will easily allow the public to see where the funds are going consistently and how decisions are being made, as well as the outcomes achieved, which I think will grow the support of the green fee in the future. I respectfully urge the legislature to pass HB 1949, and mahalo for your leadership and for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. And then Angela Young on Zoom? Not present. Then we have 18 additional individuals, all in support. Was there anyone else here to testify on this measure? All right, if not, members, questions? Oh, please go ahead, Rep. Ilagon.
Thank you,
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
Could I have the commission over? Good morning. I wanted to ask regarding the dashboard, has ETS been consulted on being able to help actually procure the necessary vendors for this dashboard?
We haven't taken those steps so far, but I have worked previously with ETS on setting up websites and vendors, so familiar with the process. I'm happy to do so.
Was that the preferred pathway, is to actually work with ETS and have them help you or facilitate with that process since they have the expertise? And I'm not sure if you do.
Yeah, I mean, we have to go through ETS just to ensure that, you know, it meets all of the requirements of the state, but we would probably do the contracting and drafting of the RFPs and what have you to actually build the dashboard. So I don't think ETS would build it themselves.
I see. You feel like you have the resources and expertise to be able to do that procurement?
Yes, and also this coming position, so we'll have the capacity in order to do the procurement. But yes, I personally do have the ability to do procurement.
Okay, thank you.
Rep. Kush, please go ahead.
Hawaii Bicycling League.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. I received emails from you and other folks on that topic you mentioned about bicycle access and paths. It's kind of not clearly mentioned or outlined. Did you have any possible amendments specific to the bill or just in general?
We want to make sure that we're elevating the role of bicycling and bicycle infrastructure. For instance, recently destination management action plans came out for each island, and they it seems to have moved away from specific mention of bicycling, even as they talk about traffic and traffic mitigation. So we want to make sure that bicycles remain part of the conversation because they're such a great way for visitors to enjoy Hawaii in a safe and sustainable way, and a great way for residents to lower their transportation costs, get exercise.
Sure, but no specific language to this bill?
No, sir.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Any other questions, members? Please go ahead.
Question for the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission. The dashboard's a great idea for transparency. My question is just on funding. Instead of appropriating new funds, do you think it would be feasible for the program to be funded by the green fees itself?
Yes. If the legislature decides to, yes, I think that would be a reasonable use of green fee funds.
Perfect, thank you.
Just a quick question, there was a testimony, I guess, suggesting of having BNF do this, would that be in place of the commission?
I would have to defer to folks testifying.
Or let me ask, I guess, OPST.
Your question, Chair?
Sorry, was it BNF that you guys suggested or DBAT?
Yes, we are suggesting an amendment to relocate this dashboard with BNF since they have been working in conjunction with the Governor's Green Fee Advisory Council, especially during the administrative requests for these projects during the review. So since they've already begun that process, we find that to be a more fitting location for this dashboard.
Okay, thanks. And then I guess for Leah, like why would you say it's appropriate for it to be under the commission?
You know, I think that BNF has definitely the fiscal tracking, but I don't know that they have the capacity or the relationships or possibly the desire, and I'd have to defer to them on that, on, you know, following up and tracking with all of the awardees. That's pretty significant work. And I think kind of outside of the scope, I think, we call this the green fee, but it's a climate impact fee, is the official title, Climate Commission. Members of our commission are, on the three kind of pillars the represents. We have HTA, DLNR, the Energy Office, all of the folks, Department of Transportation are housed at the commission. So there's a lot of multiple expertise coming in.
You would be like working at consulting BNF for some of the fiscal tracking aspects of it?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Um,
Go ahead. Revenue done.
Thank you. Could you come up one last time? So under this bill already, it states a cooperation by state and county agencies. So it already mandates all the different agencies work together so you can receive that information. I guess my point in this is that DBED already has all these different dashboards. And my concern is that we have all these different dashboards in the state, and I think ETS needs to have a mindful understanding of how these dashboards are being hosted, because there's reoccurring costs of hosting these online platforms that we would have to take into account in the future. There is a one-time appropriation for this dashboard. However, there's going to be recurring costs every year to maintain the dashboard, and that money is going to dry up at some point. So I just want you, even though you're going to use the money that is in this bill to get the expertise required for you to procure this dashboard, could you be mindful of reaching out to ETS first and see what sort of services and expertise they have to offer currently, and just so because they already are mindful of all the costs that it takes for hosting. Would you be willing to reach out to them right off the bat and work with them right away?
Absolutely, and we have just had a working relationship with them to build our new website, so very familiar with the process and context.
Thank you.
It's just one last question. The language relating to saying the commission should make assessments of effectiveness, gaps and opportunities for improvements. I mean, this funding is gonna be flowing through DLNR. Is the commission administering the grants? Because technically we cannot give this money directly to NGOs, even though it's sort of earmarked that way in the language from the governor's messages. It's actually would not be legal to do it directly. So we'll go through DLNR presumably, and then they will put out requests and give this money out in grants. So who will be administering those grants directly?
It would still be DLNR administering the grants. We would work in partnership with them to, identify who's received the grants and ensure that, the funds are effectively being used. So it'd be, in consultation with DLNR and the other agencies that receive funding.
But it would be DLNR, whoever was administering the grants would be the ones who had the oversight authority and could determine the effectiveness, et cetera.
Yeah, I think the idea was just to report on the effectiveness, but it would still be DLNR and the other agencies would determine that effectiveness.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all my questions. Any questions, EEP members? Questions?
Committee in terms of any other questions?
Okay, we will move on to the second bill on this agenda. Relating to the environment, this is House Bill 2618, and this requires the governor to request through a bill separate from the budget or supplemental budget an amount of funds that approximates the additional revenue generated by any increase to the TAT. So instead of, it would just help the legislature get that information a little earlier and provide, I think, a little more transparency. So first up to testify, we have Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission.
Chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee, Leah Lehrman with the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission. We stand on our testimony with support and available to questions.
And then Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition, Ted Bolin in support, Care for Ainanai Coalition in support.
Vice Chairs and members of the committee. I'm Hannah Lisiak here on behalf of the Care for Ina Now Coalition Leadership Committee. And we stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Doug Perrine in support. That's all the testimony that we have on this measure. Members, are there any questions? I guess I have some questions. Maybe Leah, your star this hearing today. You know, we're still, I think, in the process of reviewing all the recommendations because it's a very busy time of year for the legislature. And we hear that that a lot of NGOs are happy with it, which is, you know, we're happy about. We think they're good recommendations also, and we think all these organizations do important work. But I also see that there could be value in you know, when we passed this measure last year, we knew we were gonna come back and reconsider. The collections annually are $100 million. And right now it's a very discretionary process about how those sort of get handed out. And there's not any dedicated stream of funding that kind of comes out at the top, right, before the advisory council allocates the, you know, this and that here and there. And then it goes directly to the finance committees, kind of as a secondary budget. So, I mean, given things like conservation efforts are kind of core to the intended uses of this, I guess I'm just curious with your knowledge of conservation. I know you've worked in that area even prior to the commission. I mean, would you see that as valuable, just, you know, funding for watershed protection, funding for aquatic resource protection that flowed directly to the agencies?
Yeah, I definitely, you know, don't want to take away from all of the hard work and, you know, great, excellent work that was done by the committees. I also recognize, you know, when there's dedicated funding to action, you can do long-term planning. And so one of the benefits of having consistent funding going.
Can you speak up a little? Sorry,
Yes.
our new mic system is not, we're working on getting it adjusted.
There are definitely benefits to knowing that funding is coming in long-term because then you can make long-term planning. I think also benefits of having the funding, you know, in a special fund or in a fund where as things shift and change, you're able to reallocate that funding because sometimes contracts fall through or, you know, weather might happen that will prevent you from taking those actions. So that just has a lot of fail-safes that can really kind of protect the funding so it doesn't just not go towards its intended purpose. So I definitely see the benefits of having identified funds for certain actions, and that could be, you know, watershed fencing, and that could go to DLNR and also to community organizations, what have you.
Right. And I guess with DLNR, I guess it would depend on how we set up a special fund. You might not know the answer to this, but if we gave some money for that purpose, it could also potentially, some of it could still be granted out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I think
That's a lot of how DLNR does their work in partnership with organizations, I think.
yes.
Okay. I see everyone nodding. All right. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Are there any other questions, members? All right, then we will take a brief recess and be back for decision making. All right, we are back for decision making. First up, we're decision making on House Bill 1949. This is the green fee dashboard, green fee dashboard bill. On this, we're gonna take out page 7, subsection 5, and let the admin do their own PR with their PR people. And then on page 6 to 7, we will, instead of saying the commission shall, the language implies the commission shall be assessing the effectiveness, we'll say reporting on the effectiveness. Reporting on the effectiveness, gaps and opportunities, so presumably that would come from the agencies who are directly involved and knowledgeable on the grants that they're administering. And then we will defect the date to the year 3000, I think the dollar amounts are already blank, and move this forward for further consideration. Members, any discussion? All right, for EEP, Vice Chair, please take the vote.
On House Bill 1949, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Chun.
Aye.
Representative Kahaloa is excused. Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan.
Aye.
Representative Matsumoto. Aye. Chair, recommendation has been adopted.
For the Committee on Tourism, same recommendation.
Voting on House Bill 1949, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Hull. Excuse. Representative Hussey.
Aye.
Representative Ilagan.
Aye.
Representative Yamashita.
Aye.
Representative Gideon.
Aye.
Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you, and then moving on to House Bill 2618 relating to the environment. So we're going to add a bunch of language to this bill. And so this will apply to future collections, not to the recommendations made in this year, which are being considered by the Finance and WAM committees. But for future years of those funds collected, we're going to allow some lump sum amounts to be allocated to special funds, starting with sorry, I have a lot of papers here. Starting with creating a few special funds under DLNR. So one will be called the Watershed Biodiversity and Wildfire Risk Reduction Special Fund. So this will essentially give funding through DOFA for the stated purposes, watershed protection, et cetera. A lot of this could be used for fencing and directly for wildfire mitigation work that we know needs to happen and needs better funding. There will be a bunch of enabling language in there. I'm not gonna read it all out right now. And we will put in the committee report a recommended amount of 25 million. And then we will also create a fund called the Aquatic Resources Conservation Special Fund. And this will be for aquatic resource work through DAR. And the recommended amount for this would be 15 million. And then we also wanted to do a coastal restoration special fund, and this is addressing some things both in conservation and the tourism side. We're still working on figuring where that will be housed exactly and what the amount might be for that, but we wanted to make sure that that was included. And then we will also add some amount to or create a cesspool conversion revolving loan fund that's gonna be under the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority. And this was also something we worked on in another bill relating to cesspools, and the recommended amount for that will be 1.5 million. And then finally, we'll create a green fee special fund where the remaining funds will be deposited. This will be in the state treasury. And this will be the amount that, presumably the advisory council will still have a lot of discretion to make recommendations over. That will still be, I think, almost half of the total. It's still a fair amount. So, we think this is just a good balance of ensuring those funds get directly used for intended purposes and supplement departmental budgets as well. We will also defect the date to the year 3000. And is there anything I'm missing? I think that covers it for now. That's That's the general broad strokes of it anyway. So with that, members, any discussion? Seeing none for EEP, please take the vote.
On House Bill 2618, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye, noting the excused absence of Representative Kahaloa. Are there any noes or reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
For the House Committee on Tourism, same recommendation, any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair vote.
Voting on House Bill 2618, the recommendation is to vote with amendments, to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the excused absence of Representative Holt. Any noes? Any reservations? Chair, your measure has been adopted.
All right, and with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
convening the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection. Today is Thursday, February 12th, 2026, 9:45 a.m. We're in 325 at the state capitol, and we are going to begin our hearing with a discussion of House Bill 1644 relating to consumer protection. Requires any person or entity selling a residential solar energy device to comply with consumer protection laws. Prohibits the sale of a residential solar energy device without a contractor's license or contractual affiliation with a licensed contractor. And requires a standardized disclosure form to be developed by the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs for use in all residential solar proposals and contracts. First to testify, we have Jenna Siegel from Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Jenna Siegel with the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority, and we stand on our written testimony in support of this bill. Thank you, and I'm available for questions as well.
Thank you. Next, we have Melissa Enright from DCCA Office of Consumer Protection in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Melissa Enright from the DCCA Office of Consumer Protection. We stand on our written testimony in support. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Photon Works Engineering, Paul Oram in support. Green Power Projects LLC, Alan Leonard in support. Elco Inc., Neil Martin in support. High Power Solar LLC, Cruz Romero in support. Kauai Island Utility Cooperative, Scott Sato in support on Zoom.
Good morning, Chair Luan, Vice Chair Perusa, and members of the committee. Scott Sato from KIUC. KIUC stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. KIUC has received many complaints from our members here on Kauai regarding the types of actions this bill addresses and feels this bill is a step in the right direction. So thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony.
Thank you. Next, we have Hawaii Solar Energy Association, Rocky Mold in support, in person, not present.
I'm on Zoom.
On Zoom, so sorry.
Thank you. Hi, thank you, Chair Lowe and Vice Chair Peruso. I'm Rocky Mole with the Hawaii Solar Energy Association. I'll stand on my testimony in strong support of this measure, but just note that, you know, in HSEA, we have a code of conduct and we enforce that code of conduct with our members. We did start getting reports of an uptick in some not great practices in the market, and so we strongly support this bill. Most of the behavior in the market was attributed to third-party door knocking, organizations, and so this bill really targets those third-party sales organizations to bring them up to parity with solar contractors, and it also tightens up disclosure standards, particularly around financing products. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much. We have Independent Energy, James Rudolph in support, EP-Cube in support, Energy Advisors in support, Sunsphere Energy in support, Chris Chopin, individual in support, with Alternate Energy Inc. Not present. And a few other individuals in support. So we have 6 additional individuals in support. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the next measure. So that will be HB 2243 relating to electric energy. Requires all electric utilities to provide transparent customer bill impact analyses that are accessible to the public in an electronic format reasonably usable by ratepayers. Establishes requirements for bill impact analyses. Requires electric utilities to submit annual reports to the PUC. First to testify, we have DCCA, Michelangelo, with comments in person.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michelangelo, Executive Director, Division of Consumer Advocacy. Stand on our testimony providing comments, available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have testimony with comments from OIP, Carlotta Armino, the PUC, John Itamura, in person with comments.
Yes, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, John Itamura, Chair of PUC.
stand on our written testimony, supporting the intent of the measure, and will be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Life of the Land, Henry Curtis, in opposition, in person.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. This is the bill to simplify everything, right? Our analysis has indicated that if PICO turns over all of the information available, people can either through self-education or through college and graduate school take 14 courses in accounting, finance, economics, regulatory law, math, and statistics, and they should be able to understand this. But if they have that much, they probably don't need this bill. Mahalo.
Thank you. KIUC, Scott Sato, in opposition on Zoom.
Chair, Vice Chair, and members, KIUC stands on its written testimony in respectful opposition to this proposal and notes that the PUC has established procedures and the expertise to balance the public interest regarding transparency, along with the legitimate need to protect sensitive information on behalf of the utility. So thank you again for allowing me to provide testimony.
I left out one important thing.
Go ahead.
Most Hawaii residents use only electricity, but 75% of all people across the country use both electricity and gas. So an apples to apples comparison is looking at Hawaii's electricity versus the nation's electricity and gas. And when you do that, you discover that Hawaii's bills are just 9% above the national average, and that 8 states have higher bills than Hawaii. Places like Pennsylvania, New York, West Virginia, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. So that if you simply look for a number and you say our rates are high, that's not really important. What's important is how much you pay out of your pocket. And out of your pocket, we're part of the entire mess in this country that pays too much for electricity, but we're not an outlier. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you. Next we have Hawaii Clean Power Alliance in support, and then finally Hawaiian Electric, Shannon Olivado with comments in person.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. James Abraham on behalf of Hawaiian Electric, expressing concerns about House Bill 2243. We have our written testimony where we highlight various issues that we have with this bill as it's written. I'll just focus on a couple of more significant ones. You know, this bill is framed as transparency for affordability, but we see the consequences could be increased costs for customers. The type of information and data that this bill is seeking to make more transparent isn't the type of information that'll be helpful or useful for your typical residential ratepayer. But it would be helpful for more sophisticated players in the market, and they could potentially leverage this data and information to frustrate our competitive bidding process. Essentially, what could happen is they could see what price does their project need to be bid at in order for it to be selected, instead of providing their cheapest price that they're normally incentivized to provide in order to get selected into our RFP. The Public Utilities Commission and the Consumer Advocate's Office already review the detailed information that is protected under confidentiality in order to have their positions in the proceeding and to make determinations on our projects. And so we think that the PUC should retain its oversight of this information and the determinations on confidentiality. Again, we see the risks of this bill as higher costs for customers and frustration of our competitive bidding process. So I appreciate the opportunity to testify and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions?
I guess consumer advocate. Maybe he go later, but can you just explain, I mean, I don't ever look that closely at my electric bill, I guess, so what is it that customers see on their end?
You get an aggregate price breakdown by different components of usage-based charges, and some of these that reflect different components of different energy projects.
Is it misleading? I mean, I've heard this before and I have to go look at it myself, but I think there's sort of a separate charge for the cost of PPAs, which are mostly renewable energy, but the fuel pass-through cost isn't itemized. So people are seeing a separate cost for the clean energy, but not the actual cost.
On their bill, they're seeing an amalgam of fuel costs, some PPAs. There's two different charges, the ECRC and the PPAC, that recover different aspects of generation projects.
How do you think an average person who's not super well informed on how to, what all these things mean might interpret the information?
I mean, I would interpret it as this is a usage-based charge. This is what I'm paying for different elements of my bill. I would look at the effective rate and try to lower my bill based on the usage charge, the total aggregate usage charge.
I guess what would it lead people to believe about the costs of renewable energy versus fossil fuel energy?
I don't think looking at those charges you could determine one versus the other.
Okay, but I've definitely heard it before, like people do look at it and decide they think that renewable energy is costing them something extra.
I don't know how to respond.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask him a follow-up question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Angelo? So what do you make of HECO's concerns, or Hawaiian Electric's concerns around this kind of measure providing, just creating material for their competitors?
I think it depends on how deep into the analysis one wants to go, because the most informed people take advantage of that. It's true that, as Mr. Curtis pointed out, there's detailed information, production simulation modeling, those type of things. The average customer is not going to benefit from that information. I think having information on, and I'd like to hear more of the perspective of whether this would harm the competitive bidding process, because that is an important component of keeping prices more competitive. I would argue that they're going too high, but keeping that more competitive. So an application that goes before, that's been selected from out of the competitive bidding process, I would like to understand how having the bill impact, just the dollar amounts and what's like an annual savings would be harmful to the competitive bidding process, and that might be an effective compromise. That would have a dollar amount of projected savings for an application that goes before the PUC. But there may be bona fide, to be transparent, we don't want to inhibit competitive bidding in any way, but I would welcome to hear that perspective.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may follow up? In your opinion, I mean, is this just like an extra layer of to-dos? Will this like result, will a consumer be able to take any kind of action to reduce their energy bills or shape their behavior to reduce energy or make any kind of definitive move on their part? Or is this just a layer?
Project. What matters is the effective rate, and that's the total aggregate usage rate in kilowatt hours, which is why we always advocate to have as much of the costs in that so that customers have the opportunity to decrease their usage and decrease their overall bill.
So does this
wouldn't
help?
I don't think it would help, because you're gonna look at the overall bill itself, right? The overall rate itself, which is an amalgam of different charges.
So no meaningful change from existing?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who to ask, maybe Life of the Land. Do you have a different take? Because like I said, I have to go look at my next electric bill more closely, I think, but I've definitely heard this from people, this impression that renewable energy is more expensive than it is, at least currently. Are you familiar with what's on the electric bill? Like, is there an issue with the way the electric bill is presented to customers that is misleading in some way?
The other day, I decided to go and look at my electric bill rather than just paying it, to try to understand the different charges on it. And to tell you the truth, it totally confused the heck out of me. So it doesn't help me any. I think what gets confusing for people is that the total energy charge, as Rick Rocheller mentioned yesterday, is only about a third of the bill, and 2/3 is other stuff. So even if you made solar free, it's a small fraction of 1/3, and it's these other stuff that has a far greater impact. So I think people think that because renewables are supposed to lower rates, it's supposed to drop it way down. And that adds some of the confusion to the whole mix.
Okay, thank you. I guess Hawaiian Electric? What is the other 2/3? I mean, I know some of what it is, but just curious what's listed on the bills.
So we actually do have on our website, we have a breakdown of how to read your bill, the different elements, and it tries to break it down into, layman's terms so everyone can understand. I know it's trying to take these kind of complex regulatory concepps, right, and break it down into something that's more easily digestible. Sorry, I don't follow your two.
Well, no, just what is listed on the bill specifically.
I mean, I couldn't talk to the elements now. I'd probably refer you to our website, but again, it is our purchase power costs, our energy. Oh, sure. Well, again, I'll refer you to our website, which has more information, but there's a customer charge, non-fuel energy cost recovery, there's several elements that go into a bill. We try to explain it in more detail on our website, which I refer representatives to.
Do you think there's a way to present the information on bills that is more clear?
I'm sorry, what was
Do you
that?
think there is a way to present information on bills that's more clear to customers? I mean, I hear that you have it on your website, but
Yeah, and I mean, there have been efforts over the years to adjust how our bill, what appears on our bill, to try to ensure like all the pertinent information is there, but as far as the bill that's before the committee, I, don't know if that really applies to what's appearing on customers' bills. I think the PUC has authority to, open that discussion, and, we'd be willing to work with the PUC and the Consumer Advocate's Office to make sure our bills are more clear for customers.
okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Vice Chair.
Any other questions? Rep. Kush?
Yeah, for Helco, I'm just looking at my bill right now, and I don't know if I've even looked at the back page before. What the RBA, so there's a couple of acronyms in here that don't appear to be defined anywhere on the page, like RBA, PBF, surcharge. I mean, they're small amounts in total. Really, it comes down to the energy cost recovery, the purchase power adjustment, and the RBA rate adjustment. Those are the three, looking across a couple bills, those are the three big numbers on there. Can you detail what those are?
Again, I would refer.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a similar, I think a lot of people struggle to understand what specifically goes into their bill. I don't think that's unique. But we do try to explain it on our website. So I refer the committee to our website.
So would this bill meaningfully change any of that?
I don't think so, because what this bill is trying to do is have us publish kind of separately resource assumption methodology, different items that go into our bill impact that we present when we're submitting a project for approval to the PUC. So again, I think this is kind of separate from what's appearing on customers' bills.
Yeah, so
I think
more institutional or people who are deeply involved in energy space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, this is the next bill.
Thank you, Chair.
Is there anyone here from Hawaii Clean Power Alliance? Okay, all right, never mind.
Okay, then we're gonna move on to the next measure. House Bill 2244 relating to Public Utilities Commission clarifies that for electric utilities, performance-based incentives include revenue adjustment mechanisms, cost control mechanisms, reward for superior performance, and penalties for subpar performance. Confirms that the PUC may adopt alternative rate-making procedures to establish electric utility rates and performance-based incentives. Requires the Commission to apply a presumption in favor of considering historical cost trends and external indices that reflect incentives to control costs if the Commission resets an electric utilities allowed revenues based on consideration of the utilities costs. First to testify, we have DCCA Michael Angelo, comments in person.
Actually left it up here. It's the effect, I was looking for this. It's the effect. Hi, I'm Michael Angelo, Executive Director. Stand on our testimony providing comments, available questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have the PUC, John Itamura in person with comments.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, member of the committee. Again, the PUC stands on its written testimony, is available for questions.
Thank you. Ulupono Initiative, Micah Munakata in support on Zoom.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michael Colon. I'm the Energy Director at Ulupono Initiative. Appearing in strong support of this measure, standing on our testimony that this bill is really important because we are trying to achieve the mandate that the legislature provided in designing and directing the commission to enter into a performance-based paradigm. What's important here is the mandate that the utility, along with stakeholders and the commission, break that direct link between allowed revenues and investment levels. And we're seeing a bit of backsliding as of late. The utility requested and was approved to enter into a cost of service rate case. And we are looking at this bill as an opportunity to strengthen and reaffirm the mandate given. Go beyond just designing performance incentive mechanisms, but to actually fully create a structure that is durable and will direct the utility to enter into a true performance paradigm. There's a little bit of conflation. You'll hear from other folks saying what Ulupono is currently negotiating with Hawaiian Electric and with Blue Planet on a settlement of their current rebasing request. But again, against the backdrop of what's already happened, the alternative is the cost of service rate case because the commission has already approved that. So what we're talking about here, this bill is going forward and looking towards something that can truly be designed to more tie performance with outcomes. So the question will be whether the stakeholders support the mandate for performance based rate making or something different. And I believe and contend that this process that we're talking about, you can address all of the concerns about due process, about scrutiny and access to data and questions through design of the process, but we need to actually do that design process. Mahalo for the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Life of the Land, Henry Curtis with comments.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. Performance-based regulation proceeding was opened at the PUC in 2018. So that's 8 years ago. This has been the single most complex proceeding that Life of Land has ever been involved in the PUC. It's a monumental transformation, moving the utility from the past to the future. What this bill says is right now, the PUC is saying to all the parties, where do you want to go in the future? And there are two paths being developed. Some parties favor one path, some parties favor the other path. So what this bill is saying is that the legislature should step in and tell the PUC which path to pick. And believe me, that would be a monumental task. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next to testify, we have Hawaiian Electric. Shannon Olivado,
Morning,
comments in
Chair,
person.
Vice Chair, Member Shannon Olivado for Hawaiian Electric, standing on our comments, here for questions, thank you.
Thank you. And last to testify, we have Isaac Murawaki from Earth Justice and Support in person.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Isaac Moriwaki, Earth Justice. In support of this measure, we stand on our written testimony and just wanted to clarify something. So the point of this measure is to clarify and reaffirm the Ratepayer Protection Act of 2018 with the Ratepayer Protection Act of 2026. If you look at the bill's terms, it's really basic. It should be uncontroversial here. And reading the testimony, I'll get to Mr. Curtis's comments in just a second, but the written testimony says really this is not necessary, right? And I don't want to get into the semantics of necessary, but I believe this bill really would be beneficial and helpful because there is some confusion swirling around here. The PUC and more so the consumer advocate has said in that docket that maybe our hands are tied and we need to be tracked into a traditional cost of service regulation rate case, which is what we definitely don't want. I'm not sure if any of the parties want that at this point, and that would set us up for a epic historic rate hike, right? And you know, we're locked into that cost of service paradigm. It has to be based on this wish list forward test year approach. And so, yeah, there's been some noises that our hands are tied and we're handcuffed and we have to drag ourselves back to the cost of service paradigm when we should be going forward with this performance-based regulation paradigm that the commission itself has established. So this bill makes clear that we're unhandcuffing, we're unstraitjacketing the PUC. Contrary to what Mr. Curtis just said, yeah, we're not dictating the PUC to go one path or another. We're saying, hey, you don't have to track us into this cost of service paradigm and drag us back to that framework. We can all focus our eyes forward like we should. So again, just reaffirming the progress since 2018 and ensure that we're all on the same page going forward, letting the PUC have the discretion to do the right thing and uphold the principles and the process of performance-based regulation. Mahalo, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. So I have listed to testify. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions?
Chair. Yes, Earth Justice. Could you just explain how the prior legislation, if it remained unamended, how it handcuffs the PUC?
We don't believe it does.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, we thought that Act 5, that was the original enactment, which was codified in 269-16.1, was clear enough that we're supposed to forge ahead on a new path that's performance-based. But again, there have been signals from the PUC and the consumer advocate that no, the existing laws like Section 16 in the PUC statute, as well as the rules, require us to drag ourselves back to a traditional cost of service rate case, require us to do a forward test year system. And as the preamble in this bill recognizes, that forward test year approach is really, call it a minority approach, but it's not best practice in the whole.
Can you explain what a forward test year approach is?
Right, and as the bill explains, the concept is the utility comes in with a rate increase proposal with its wish list of future projects going forward, rather than indexing it to objective measures based on its past cost control performance, based on other utilities, for example, a historic look that is based on your performance ultimately in controlling costs. But the forward test year approach flips that, and then it's basically this sort of like wish list approach, and that is documented to, obviously boost rates because it's all dictated by the utility's request. So again, the PUC, the CA have indicated, well, that's what the rules are. Okay, so maybe our hands are tied here, and we have to do that. Now, I saw the PUC's testimony saying, oh, maybe not now, and we do look at historical costs. I think this bill just makes it clear. Okay, let's just get all on the same page. Let's ultimately look at performance and controlling costs, and do it the right way.
Do you think, this is a question over the long term, not just in performance incentives, but regarding the performance of HECO, Helco, Hawaiian Electric, have they, in your opinion, been motivated to improve their performance in things like moving forward more quickly on achieving renewable energy mandates and keeping costs down?
Maybe you should also ask them as well, but I believe so, yes. And how I know this, especially on the cost control aspect, is because before PBR, heading into PBR, HECO had on the table a combined rate case or a rate increase of, I believe it was about $100 million every single year, year after year. The PUC held the line on that. Instead, with the direction of the legislature in Act 5, said we're embarking on this performance-based approach and kept rates at those levels. And then going forward, it was escalated according to inflation, which is an objective index, right? It's not subjective in terms of here's all the projects we're gonna load in and how we're gonna boost rates, right? And so PBR worked in terms of containing that cost, increase and the cost upward pressure. And now, right, the prospect is we're staring down at this potential traditional cost of service rate case where all this stuff is gonna come rushing back in. And all this bill is saying is that no, let's stay the course on performance-based regulation, keep that cost control incentives front and center.
I guess what I'm asking was the initial setup of the PBR framework strong enough?
It was strong, and I think the objective here is to make it even stronger and to improve it. I mean, there were intervening sort of complications like COVID, like the supply chain problems, like inflation, what have you. But mind you, this performance-based regulation that collectively we all established with the legislature's guidance, with the PUC taking the lead, it ultimately really was their leadership under previous administrations. It's established this framework that is leading the nation, really. It's recognized nationally as the future of this paradigm, this performance-based paradigm. And again, bringing it back to this bill, all this bill would be doing is updating Act 5, updating the Ratepayer Protection Act to what we've already established and reaffirming that this is what we want.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to our next.
Can I make one comment?
I allowed you to on the last bill, but I think we're gonna move on.
That was highly misleading.
I will.
One comment.
Okay, so we'll allow you to revise.
For the last 2 or 3 months, HECO and all the parties have been involved in intense negotiations. All cost data is classified within the working group. So any discussion on the previous speaker on what costs are on the table now, nothing is public.
That's a little over our heads anyway.
But I think we might have missed that.
I do have
you have a comment?
another question maybe for HECO.
Oh, Chair.
I guess we would like to see the utility embracing performance standards and working to achieve them. And I think PBR has been effective, but it could be more effective. It has led to maybe improvements, or it has kept costs from being as high as they could be. But I think that the utility could still do a lot better in pushing forward on renewables and keeping costs down. Like, given that, I mean, if we didn't pass this, or you were allowed to go back to the old way of rate making, which is not what I intend to do, but I mean, how is the utility working to move projects forward in a timely way to bring cheaper energy online for everyone and to keep costs down?
Thank you, Chair, for the question, and acknowledging your previous question to the testifier with respect to whether PBR is working. And I will, for the record, just for committee members' purposes, express that the PIMs that the Hawaiian Electric has been subject to has resulted in penalties, and I'll just read off what the penalties has been for the last 5 years. 2021, 4.9 million net penalty. 2022, 4 million net penalty. 2023, 1.8 million net penalty, and 2024 was the first time we received a reward of 2.3. And the breakdown, we have it if you want the breakdown, but with respect to whether we're committed to bringing renewables online, the answer is yes. And I think you will see that with our most recent IGP that is gonna become coming forward after the stage 3 RFPs are negotiated and finalized. And I think PBR is holding us accountable. And so I can't say anything because as Mr. Curtis noted, these negotiations that have been going on are confidential and we're committed. And I think the PUC has been doing a good job of making sure we're all parties are talking and continuing.
Can you tell us what the penalties were for in the prior years and what the?
I can probably provide it to you in letter form, but with respect to and I think Daniel probably has this more, it's SAIDI, there was some SAIDI, so that's reliability. The other ones, I don't think the interconnection, there was no penalty. I'm seeing it on generation, but we did get pluses for AMI, advanced meter installation, LMI, low to moderate income, working with our LMI communities. So I can give you this breakdown because we did present it to the Senate in June after the CPN briefing.
Yes.
It's very helpful.
Okay, thanks. And then, can I ask another question? Is
Sure.
Michael Colon, are you still on Zoom?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
I guess, what do you see as the dangers of going backwards?
So, I think it's a good to clarify, we have been working on PBR, right, for a long time. We did a lot of work on designing the performance incentive mechanisms, but I guess collectively, the group kicked the can down the road on rebasing, right? So that pushed this process into kind of where we're at right now. And rebasing is the new word for rate case, like a reconciliation, an increase in rates, however you want to call it. That new mechanism and structure has been in process of being designed up until the point where Hawaiian Electric requested and received that approval to proceed under a rate cost of service. So the question is, it's front and center whether or not we're committed to continuing and forward with that performance paradigm. Now, getting to your question, I think what's important is that the notion of why we started in the first place down this path of aligning performance was that people were somewhat frustrated with the way the utilities operated and performed and wanted to see more close alignment, but also wanted to see tangible connection between behavior and consequences, both positive and negative. And without a structure that's durable and understandable, and I think there's also something to be said about setting up a structure that is more easily understood by the average bear, and I think that's also part of what the challenge of a cost of service rate case is if, I used to work at the commission, when you open a rate case, a truck literally backs up with boxes of testimony and information and work papers for the Public Utilities Commission, the consumer advocate to pour through. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of resources on everybody's side to go through it. I know I also worked at Electric. It's not fun to do those either. But the challenge is to wade through all that process and then come up with a true outcome that people are going to be happy with, coupled with an increase in rates. Some of the efforts in the PBR design was to create something that is easier, a little bit more streamlined, and also more somewhat automated in the way that you can look at some of the cost control mechanisms, right? And so there's the one we're talking about, this forward looking versus backward looking. If you, rather than pile in what's going to be coming in the future, it's essentially like going in for a performance evaluation with your boss, and you say, I want a raise of X amount because that's how much I'm going to be spending. That's kind of what a forward looking test year is, rather than looking at bringing up your budget, how much you spent, and being kind of real disciplined in how you approach it, which is kind of what we're trying to build in with this performance approach. So I think the real risk is there's a little more obfuscation, there's a little less clarity on how costs are controlled and managed, and a little less stricture to that tying the performance of the utility to their outcomes. And I think, to be fair to the utility, they are motivated, and it's bad timing with COVID and a lot of other things that really made achieving more of their accelerated renewable achievement possible. But some of the PIMs are working, and so that's not to say we're any of this is to lock in existing performance incentive mechanisms or anything like that. It's just to stay focused on this process and not backtrack as a whole.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, we're going to move on to the second to last measure in this docket. HB-2242 relating to renewable energy requires the PUC to establish a streamlined grid-ready homes interconnection process, authorizes the use of Hawaii electricity reliability surcharge for cost recovery of certain expenses of the Hawaii Electricity Reliability Administrator associated with the grid-ready homes interconnection process. Requires a report to the PUC on the grid-ready homes interconnection process. First to testify, we have DCCA, Michelangelo, with comments.
Chair, Vice Chair, member of the committee, Michelangelo, stand on our testimony, provide comments. Thank you.
Thank you. PUC, John Itamura, with comments.
Chair, Vice Chair, member of the committee, PUC stands on its written testimony and is available for questions.
Thank you. Hawaiian Electric, Shannon Oliveto, oppose.
Thank you so much, Chair, Vice Chair. Shannon Olivato for Hawaiian Electric, and we stand in opposition, available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have testimony from Alternate Energy in support, Photon Works Engineering in support, Green Power Projects in support, Elco Inc. in support, High Power Solar in support, KIUC, Scott Sato with comments on Zoom.
Good morning again. KIUC stands on its written testimony providing comments on this measure. I would like to note that we've offered a couple of amendments to exempt a member-owned electric cooperative from this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Malama Solar offered testimony in support, Hawaii Solar Energy Association, Rocky Mold in support on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chair. Rocky Mold, Hawaii Solar Energy Association. We'll stand on our written comments in strong support of this measure, but I'll just note that we're really trying to innovate here. Hawaii has really laudable and ambitious renewable energy goals, and in order to get there, we really need to pick up the pace on interconnection of rooftop solar and energy storage. So this really is an effort to innovate our process to be able to get us there. It's also opening the door for new technologies that are going to lower costs for that transition, lower costs for customers. So we're in strong support of this measure. We've also listened to some of the comments we've heard from folks and offer a few amendments that I think are responsive to those comments. I'm here to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have testimony in support from EP-Cube, Energy Advisors, Climate Protectors, Sunspirit Energy, and 2 additional individuals in support. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? No questions. We'll be moving on to the next measure. Final measure, HB 1980, relating to electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Establishes the goal of the state to retrofit state facilities to be electric vehicle charger ready. Requires the design of all new state building construction where parking is to be included to provide that at least 25% of parking stalls be electric vehicle charger ready. Requires HSEO in consultation with DAGS and Department of Transportation to conduct a survey and identify certain high priority state facilities. Requires a report. First to testify, we have Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission, Leah Laramie in support in person. She may have left. Hawaii State Energy Office with comments in person.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Chris Yunker from the Hawaii State Energy Office, here to stand on our written testimony with comments and available for questions. The one thing that I would note is for the new facilities, the 25% make ready. Just wanted to note that that doesn't necessarily require, dedicating those vehicles to EVs. That would seemingly occur once the EV chargers were installed. Thanks.
Thank you. We have also testimony in support from DAGS, P3 and Comptroller in person.
Good morning, Chair Lowe and Vice Chair Peruso. My name is Seema Sueko Lowe with DAGS Automotive Management Division. We stand on our written testimony in support and we're available for questions.
Thank you. We also have testimony in support from 350 Hawaii, Imua Alliance for Automobile Innovation, Tiffany Yajima in support on Zoom. Not present. Testimony and support from Climate Protectors Hawaii and one individual in support. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Chair.
I guess for DAGs first. And this is a little bit based on because I sometimes torture myself by watching Senate hearings on bills I'm interested in. And it seemed like DAGS was interpreting the language in this bill to mean that you would only have to look at the parking lots that DAGS is directly responsible for. Is that your interpretation? Because my reading of the bill is, it says all state facilities. It seems pretty clear.
Yes, it is all state facilities, but DAGS will only have responsibility on the facilities that we actually control. So, for example, Department of Education, DOT, they have parking lots as well and facilities that they would be responsible for.
Would it be not appropriate then to designate DAGS, because DAGS does oversee construction projects at state facilities statewide? I mean, I know DOE has kind of their own facilities department, but not every agency does, correct?
Yeah, we manage 35 parking facilities across the state. And so that's my understanding, is that's where our jurisdiction ends. Our reading of the bill, though, is that it is in reference to statewide. I'm looking at my colleague over at HST because we've had this conversation as well. So that's why I keep looking at
Chris, if you wanna come up, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess I just wanna make sure if we're able to, well, first of all, I wanted to ask you anyway, I think there has been some ongoing work that moving us forward on this, even though we haven't passed legislation that we've considered several years in a row. So do you wanna update us on that?
Yes, we've been working closely with DAGS in looking at workplace charging and charging in state facilities. DAGS has been moving ahead. The State Energy Office administers some funds for the Volkswagen settlement. We were looking at doing some charging, but with the rollback of federal opportunities, we've shifted to working with DAGS and other state agencies on rolling out charging at state facilities. And so that's what we're working on now. We can use some of those funds as cost match with them.
Okay. So in your reading of this bill, I mean, I'm just trying to think, well, clearly the new construction requirement applies across the board. And then in terms of retrofitting, I guess this assessment of facilities statewide still needs to be completed, or has some of that been done?
We're looking at all of these state facilities. As DAGS would know, we'll have to work with each of the individual agencies in terms of doing that assessment, but
Would that include working with like DOE and DOH and
yes,
agencies that are more responsible for their own facilities?
each one is responsible for their own facilities. And yes, we intend to reach out and work with all of those. We've been working with DAGS and we do with DOT quite a bit. But that's where, in noting in our testimony, we note as well, it's like we don't have control of all those facilities. However, we're perfectly willing to support and do the analysis.
But in terms of doing an assessment of which facilities might be sort of the low-hanging fruit for retrofits. That's something that HSEO could do for all state agencies, even though you will not be able to necessarily control those construction projects if they happen.
We would be willing to take that on, yes, with the readily available information, and we feel like we have enough to go on anyway.
And then the language says, State Energy Office, in consultation with DAGS, DOT shall survey existing state facilities statewide, so that is clear, but should we add DOE and DOH? Like, what would be the most helpful to you in accomplishing that?
I'm not sure, I'd have to take that back. The one thing that concerns me about calling out specific agencies as opposed to all agencies, like the current language does do in terms of the requirements for like make ready. Once you call out one, if you don't call out everybody,
That
then
kind of excludes them. Well, because it says all state facilities, but not all state agencies. So should we just say in consultation with all state agencies that have parking facilities, something like that?
that could work.
Okay, just because it seemed like there was some lack of clarity about who was included. Dollar amount, blank dollar amount in the bill, do you guys have a recommendation?
In consultation and talking with DAGS, some of like the detailed engineering studies, if we wanted to do those to really make them ready, could cost anywhere from between 25 to 35,000 per facility. If you wanted to do 4 to 10, so 10 times 30 would be 300,000. And that would get you to essentially the point where you could do installations of the equipment.
Okay, and then if you wanna, I'm actually thinking, because there's always so much misunderstanding on this, especially like I mentioned when I watched some of the Senate hearings. I'm thinking of clarifying like in the definition of EV charger ready, that EV charger ready does not like necessarily include the actual charger, it's the wiring. I mean, I think the definition as it is right now matches up to like federal law, I believe, is where it came from.
I come back, I think the language is pretty clear and we can provide testimony clarifying that. The one thing, yeah, I get, it's like identifying individual agencies. You know, once you start saying, oh, it doesn't include this, you get into a situation of, okay, well, what about the things that weren't mentioned?
Okay.
As opposed to simply saying make ready is this.
Okay, well, I guess given that understanding that the make ready work is a new construction, you put in the wiring that was able to sometime in the future when there is a demand for it, you are able to install an EV charging system with minimal tearing up the whole parking lot to accommodate the wiring for it, which is much cheaper than doing the retrofits that we're talking about. Given that, do you think 25% is an appropriate percent?
I could take it back, but I believe 25% is a reasonable for state facilities to going forward.
Just given the continuing
Take it back and get back to you on.
Okay, well, we're gonna pass something out today, so we'll stick with 25, I guess, but, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Members, are there any other questions? Seeing none, we're gonna recess for decision making.
Alright, we are back for decision making on the 9:45 AM agenda, Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection. First up, we have House Bill 1644 relating to consumer protection. So we are going to make some technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style, and to effect the date to the year 3000 and move this forward. Members, any discussion? If not, Vice Chair, please take the vote.
On House Bill 1644, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Chun.
Aye.
Representative Kahaloa.
Aye.
Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan.
Aye.
Representative Matsumoto. Aye. Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
Thank you. For House Bill 2243, for now, we're gonna defer decision-making on this to Tuesday, December 17th at the end of the 9:30 AM agenda here in room 325, just to decide what we wanna do with this, if anything. So we will not be voting on that right now. On House Bill 2244, we are going to defect the date to the year 3000 and move this forward. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
On House Bill 2244, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any noes or reservations? Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
And then House Bill 2242. For this, we're going to adopt the amendments from Hawaii State Energy Association. We will defect the date to the year 3000 and move this forward. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 2242, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any noes or reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
And then House Bill 1980 relating to electric vehicle charging infrastructure. We will clarify the language in section 5. So this will be in consultation with all state agencies that have parking facilities. And we will recommend in the committee report an appropriation amount of $300,000. And we will defect the date to the year 3000 and move this forward. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
House Bill 1980, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any noes or reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
And this hearing is adjourned.
Okay, we are convening the joint committees on agriculture and food systems and energy and environmental protection. This is our Thursday, February 12th hearing. This is the 10:15 AM agenda, and we have one bill on our agenda, which is House Bill 2548 relating to sustainable food systems. Establishes the Climate Resilient Food Systems Grant Program within the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity and appropriates funds. First up to testify, we have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Hello, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Cedric Gates here on behalf of DAB. DAB stands in strong support of this measure. We want to thank the author for introducing this measure as well, and here for any questions.
Thank you. Next we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Testimony and support.
Next up we have Hunter Heblin, Hawaii Farmers Union. Support. Present. We have late testimony from Angela Young from CARES. Not present. Okay, that's all I have for registered to testify in person or online. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in this measure? Seeing none. Members, any questions?
The tax department is here, it's time to answer some comments.
Okay.
I didn't hear your comments.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have.
Wrong bill.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Alright, any questions, members? Seeing none, we're gonna move right into decision making of this measure, so. Members, for House Bill 2548, the recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1. And it already has a blank appropriation, so we're just gonna defect the date to July 1, 3000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 2548, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Kahaloa excused. Representative Lowen.
Aye.
Representative Peruso.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan excused, and Representative Matsumoto.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Oh, for Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection, same recommendation.
On House Bill 2548, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Chen.
Aye.
Representative Kahaloa is excused. Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Representative Matsumoto. Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
Alright, thank you. We're adjourned.
Alright, we are gaveling in for a quick decision-making agenda, which was scheduled for 10:30, Thursday, February 12th, room 325, can be on energy and environmental protection. We are voting out House Bill 2486 relating to solar energy. And for this bill, we're just going to take the recommended amendments from the Public Utilities Commission and defect the date to the year 3000 and move this forward. Members, any discussion? If not, Vice Chair, please take the vote.
On House Bill 2486, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Chen.
Aye.
Representative Kahaloa is excused. Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Representative Matsumoto. Aye. Chair, recommendation has been adopted.
Alright, and this hearing is adjourned.
So reconvening the House, the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection to hear one measure, House Bill 1617, reestablishes the Agricultural Development and Food Security Special Fund, establishes a carbon emissions tax and dividend special fund, gradually increases the environmental response, energy, carbon emissions, and food security tax rates, and establishes a refundable carbon cashback tax credit to offset increases for most taxpayers. First to testify on this measure, we have Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in support in person.
Thank you. That stands in support of this measure.
Thank you. Also have a testimony in support from the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission. Hawaii Department of Taxation provided testimony with comments. Thank you. We have testimony with comments from the Attorney General on Zoom.
No, I'm here.
Oh, sorry. Here.
I will stand on our written testimony when I'm available.
Thank you. We have testimony in support from Kauai Climate Action Coalition, Citizens Climate Lobby Hawaii, Climate Future Forum. We also have the Hawaii Farm Bureau providing comments in person.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony providing comments.
Thank you. Greenpeace Hawaii offers testimony in opposition on Zoom. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Dave Molnick's here. Greenpeace Hawaii. We have gone into great detail in our written testimony on why HB 1617 is written will be bad for local farmers, local businesses, and low-income commuters. We oppose carbon cashback portion of the bill, but support reestablishing the Agricultural Development and Food Security Fund for farmers. These are two different bills that should not be smushed together. We would support the bill if you edited out or added out the carbon cashback portion. The goal of carbon cashback is to raise prices on fossil fuels, which will inevitably raise prices on all goods and services. The cashback won't cover additional costs, which will financially disadvantage our local farmers, local businesses, and low-income commuters. This concern has been expressed many times by local Chamber of Commerce, retail merchants, Farm Bureau, Grassroots Institute, and Tax Foundation. That's exactly what happened in Canada. That's why last year they essentially rescinded their carbon cashback, their version of carbon cashback. But Canadian farmers warned that the tax would raise prices on local produce, which is what it did. And so they had to rescind that tax. And that's exactly what will happen here in Hawaii. Additionally, the plan is to raise the cost of fossil fuels to force consumers to switch to clean transportation. The problem with that is the infrastructure is not in place for that. In rural areas like Hawaii Island, there are severe lack of bus service, also severe lack of EV charging stations. Carbon cashback puts the cart before the horse. It doesn't provide the infrastructure needed for people to transition off of fossil fuels. Finally, carbon cashback is based on an unproven theory that carbon taxes will reduce carbon emissions. A peer-reviewed research paper examined all 37 studies that assessed the actual effects of carbon pricing policy and on emissions reductions and concluded overall the aggregate reduction on carbon pricing was limited to impact to generally between 0 and 2% per year. The author of the study concluded, we have 30 years of experience in carbon pricing and not a whole hell lot to show for it.
Thank you.
Finally, the citizen line.
Would you mind summarizing?
All right, I think that summarizes it. Thank you so much. Please kill this bill or amend it to take out carbon cashback. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have testimony and support from Imua Alliance, from Carbon Cashback Hawaii. We also have KIUC, Beth Amaro on Zoom in opposition.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. We are in opposition to the portion of the bill that relates to the carbon emissions tax. And very briefly, aside from the financial impact to our customers, we feel very strongly that since KIUC is already in compliance with the Renewable Portfolio Standards mandates, which guides our actions toward weaning ourselves off of fossil fuel. In fact, we are well ahead of the state benchmarks that have been set leading up to 2045. We feel that this would actually be punitive in nature to electric utilities that are in compliance with that law. So if it does move forward, we feel that electric utilities in compliance with the RPS standard should be exempt. and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Women Organizing for Change in Agricultural and Natural Resource Management in support, as well as the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii in opposition, Nature Conservancy in support, Climate Protectors Hawaii in support, Tax Foundation of Hawaii, Tom Yamachika with comments on Zoom.
Aloha, Colleen Taramai on behalf of our president, Tom Yamachika. The Tax Foundation of Hawaii stands on its written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Additionally, we have Douglas Hagan in support on Zoom, not present. Thomas Graham in support on Zoom. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Thomas Graham, and I strongly support this bill. I'd like to highlight how important carbon cashback is in the state's various climate and energy plans. First, it's run by the State Climate Commission. It's a key part of the Climate Action Pathways Plan, which was released just a couple of months ago. Carbon cashback is also a key recommendation of the State Energy Office's decarbonization plan. That's the plan to get the state to net zero emissions. And carbon cashback is the top recommendation of the state's most recent Tax Review Commission, based on the carbon pricing study that was commissioned by the legislature and carried out by UHERA. Carbon cashback is not the only policy that's needed to get us off of fossil fuels, but all of these expert state agencies and commissions see it as a key ingredient in the mix of policies that the state needs to adopt if it's going to achieve its climate and energy security goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have John Kawamoto in support on Zoom.
Aloha, my name is John Kawamoto and I strongly support this bill. This bill brings together two proven policy tools, carbon pricing and refundable tax credits, to cut climate pollution while putting money directly into the pockets of Hawaii's families. Carbon pricing is currently used in some form by 55 countries, according to the World Bank. It is used by so many countries because it is so effective. The World Bank states, carbon pricing is widely recognized as an important tool to incentivize low carbon economic growth. Globally, carbon pricing programs now generate more than $100 billion per year worldwide that is used to fund clean energy infrastructure, support vulnerable communities, and assist families financially. Refundable tax credits are used in Hawaii to provide financial support to specific populations. Examples include the food and excise tax credit, earned income tax credit, and child tax credit. Refundable tax credits are the most effective mechanism minimizing the potential for fraud that ensures financial assistance reaching those who need it. This bill combines carbon pricing with refundable tax credits so that climate action also supports Hawaii's families financially. Mahalo for your kind attention.
Thank you. Finally, the last individual testifier is Thomas Milkerick in support on Zoom, not present. Is there anyone here wishing to testify on this measure? Please come to the podium.
For the opportunity to testify. Aloha, Chair Lowen, Chair Chun. I know you've heard this bill a number of times, for which I am grateful. The reason I continue to come up here every year is I believe it's the most effective, efficient, and equitable policy. I'm very concerned for the future of my children and for the youth that I work with the Climate Future Forum. I see this as the best path forward. I recognize that a policy or a proposal with tax in it is very difficult to pass. That is why there is the complementary piece of this that gives money back to people. climate change is probably the biggest problem we face as a planet. So I get it again, taxes and all that, but we need to take bold action if we're going to address this. So I just implore and encourage you all to take that bold action and pass this out of your committees. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Representative Kush?
No, I'll pass. Thank you.
Representative Charlotte?
Okay, I think we'll go straight to DM, if that's okay with everyone. It's getting late, so I think, we'll continue to have this discussion as we have in other years and defect the date on this to the year 3000 and move it forward. Members, any discussion? Alright, if not, Vice Chair.
House Bill 1617, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Chan.
Aye.
Representative Kahaloa.
Aye.
Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Representative Matsumoto. Reservations. Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
Okay. Same recommendation for agriculture and systems. Any questions? Okay, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 1617, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendment. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Kahaloa.
Aye.
Representative Lowen.
Aye.
Representative Peruso.
Aye.
Noting the excused absence of Representative Quinlan, Representative Matsumoto.
Reservations.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
We're adjourned.